What's that? Howls from the woods, movement under the water, something you notice off the corner of your eye, be a look it's gone. This is Cryptid Talk. Hi everyone, how is everyone doing today? I hope everyone had a very good and safe Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and all the fun shenanigans, and I hope you had some very delicious turkey. I sure as well did. I did. Yeah. Ooh, take two. Let's try that again. I sure as hell did, and it was really good. Had some probably one of the best green bean casserole I think I've ever had in a long time, if at all. It was just something about it was just mwah, just so good. Um, I actually before we even get into it, this is Cryptid Talk. If this is your first time here, my name's Michael Madden. I am your host for this wonderful show where we talk about cryptozoology and all the fun shenanigans in between. And if this is your first time here, welcome. Make sure if you haven't already, follow my Facebook page, facebook.com/cryptotalk. And of course, if you're here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Even if it seems is so insignificant and small, it will it definitely helps a lot within the algorithm of getting me more like, hey, if you like this, you might like this kind of thing. I'll be recommended in more places and stuff like that. So all that helps, and and all people who do and all that fun stuff, I greatly appreciate it. So last week, before we get today, last week we didn't do one because Thanksgiving and everything. But the week before, the last episode, we had our very first guest on, Mark Marcel, good friend of mine and everything like that. Fantastic. It was a fantastic interview. Had a great time in in Crypticon. I got some really cool things. I got a hand cast of this one Bigfoot in Kentucky called Goliath, because the year before I bought a footprint and now I have a handprint. So that's pretty cool. From the same person, actually, like probably like at least in the past, between summer and now, the person who was there, who I got the cast from, Tom Shea, had a recent thing where he took a picture, or he noticed something out in this little field area, took a picture of it, and if you look in the picture, you clearly do see like a big, solid black object. Well, the following day, they got one of their friends and put him in the spot roughly of where the creature stood, and this guy is kind of like a big guy, little on the weight, and kind of tall, and was easily, was still small compared to the figure on the left side where you saw like this big creature. It's very interesting, and he had a special framed one with a picture of a cat that was also taken along with it, and a picture of him, the friend in the picture, and also Cliff Bergman. But overall, it was Crypticon was great, because now that I finally had my first guest on the show, which I've been trying to get from Mark for a while now, but now that he's my first guest, I now plan on, getting other people to be guests on the show. I asked a few people in Kentucky. Some people said probably not, because they're just busy as they is. Some people were like, ask me in the spring. Between now and then, I'm pretty busy with a bunch of things. Like, sure, completely understandable. But I definitely have gotten some people that he definitely said, definitely for sure, and some people who I think haven't asked yet, I think would probably be more than happy to do so. So, fingers crossed that I can somehow get that to work, because there's a lot of really cool guests and people I would love to get on the show and stuff like that. Now, obviously, of course, originally, again, it took a while for a guest to happen, but why I wait? I guess I was gonna wait at least 10 episodes before I even considered doing a guest, because this is I like a lot of different podcasts, a lot of different things. Shows go off of them having a guest, and I'm not always going to have a guest. I'm going to have a guest when I can, so I didn't want people to depend on like, oh, this is a guest podcast. No, not really. Guests are just fun extra things that might pop up during certain times, and they pop up great. but just don't depend on their being a guest like every week or like something like that. For all like episodes of guests will come when when the guest is free, because a lot of people that I'm interested in having on as guests are busy people, and they've got busy lives, and of course just normal lives in general, and so then I'm not gonna be able to get them like whenever I want. So guests will come when they come, and when they are here, it'll be a great time, because just by going off of the other, but by the last our first guest with Mark, it went swimmingly. Even on his personal Facebook page, he actually sponsored, like, hey, he even like sponsored, or not really sponsored, but like mentioned our interview on his own Facebook page, and that's actually where I've gotten a bit more subscribers. Actually, hold on, let's check real quick. UB of the tube, come on, YouTube. Switch. So right now we are at 41 subscribers, which last time we were at like 36. So since the time of me getting the interview with Mark, we have gone up to 41 subscribers. Sure, I probably won't be able to reach the goal that I had of the. Really? That's not okay. I won't be able to reach the goal of the 100 subscribers that I was hoping for, but hey, let's see how close we can get to 100. If I can get to 50 by the end of the year, but before the new year starts, I actually might be I'll be pretty happy with that, and then maybe 100 will be for next time. But yeah, so look forward, for guests in the future. I've got a lot of great guests that I would be interested in having on. One person that I met at the Central Pennsylvania Bigfoot Festival that I was in August. I kind of told him about my podcast. He was like, "Well, if you're interested, if you need a guest on the podcast, let me know." I was like, "Great!" So I've already got people, who are interested, and people who I think would ask, and I think who'd probably be interested as well. So we will have to see. But yeah, so and of course, if you want to stay up to date on all that, make sure you follow the Facebook page, facebook.com/Cryptid Talk. Also, I will have to post that as well. But Mark sent me. If you listen to it, he talked about an encounter he had a few years ago, and he sent me a bunch of pictures and stuff like that. But he showed me a picture of a drawing that he did of his encounter, and I'm going to try to get that picture and put it on the Facebook page because I've gotten permission for him to share that picture, because he at CryptidCon he shared that picture with everyone there. So I'm assuming if he shared to a bunch of people on a panel, he did. I don't think he'll mind if I show a few. And he did say that there is some stuff on there I can share. But so I'm definitely gonna show that picture of the drawing that he did of it. And if you haven't listened to that episode yet, go listen to it now. It's almost an hour and a half long, but it's one of the most fun and probably honestly my best episode so far. Like, guest episodes are so much more fun because for me, sure, I will admit, doing a podcast when it's just me and I have to do 100% of the talking, sure, gets a little challenging sometimes. But then when you're able to have like a guest on, you can kind of like get go off of other each other's like talkings and everything like that, and just build off of each other. It's just great. It's just so much more fun. It's just so much more. It's just more enjoyable and everything like that. So it's also nice to change the pace to. Let's let someone else talk for a little bit, and then I'll follow. How I'll chime in every so often, but make sure you go listen to that, and go follow Mark Marcel on social media. He's a fantastic guy. He's got a new thing coming up with Small Town Monsters. I think in March, I believe, of him with the Small Town Monster people going over their Ape Canyon adventure and stuff like that. And if you haven't listened to Small Town Monsters, they got some really good stuff. So follow them as well. Follow Small Town Monsters. Keep up to date on their fun adventures that they got going on, especially with that documentary that they've got coming in March. And because when I heard that there was a Small Town Monsters of them doing Ape Canyon with Mark Marcel, I am hyped and excited as hell for that. That's gonna be a good one, and a bunch of their stuff they do is really really good. So make sure you go follow them and keep up to date on what their adventures are coming up with that. Also, on the way back from Kentucky, stopped in Salt Fork State Forest in Ohio for a night, and came back home after that. Stayed in a really nice lodge that was in the forest. I Something may have happened when I was standing outside the car in Salt Fork State Forest. I had my therm and I was looking around. Didn't see anything. Didn't at all. And we found a little parking spot area, and I was just there, just looking around. And the next thing I know, I don't know what it was. I didn't have the therm up at a time. I was kind of just looking around with the naked eye, and I heard some sort of sound, or a voice, or just something like, or I couldn't even tell you what it was. Just some sort of sound. And I've heard sounds before. Like, I have heard Bigfoot in the woods before. Like leaves break, like stepping on leaves, branches. Like, I've heard them in the woods before. But whatever this sound was that I heard, immediately just filled me with like a fight or flight kind of response. That I was like I couldn't even bring the courage to bring the therm up to my eye to look for like what's around, what could be possibly make that noise. I couldn't even bring it up, the courage to even bring up to my eye to even look through it. I'm like, okay, I gotta go. Like, so that the fight or flight response, and flight took over. Quickly got into the car, and I kind of just drove back. And like, I wanted to be in the woods for so much longer, but I'm like, no, I'm good. I want to go back now. So went to the lodge there, stayed at the hotel. Nice, very nice. Coincidentally enough, found out that hotel is actually where they hold the Ohio Bigfoot Conference in. I'm like, I had no idea. So that's pretty cool. But very weird. I don't know what it was. If it even was anything. I couldn't, like, just there was some little noise for just a brief moment, and a flare, and like, I've never felt like that, because I've always heard so many stories of people saying that they're filled with some sort of dread or fight or flight or something like that. But next thing you know, I'm feeling this pain, like, ooh, ha, 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 ha. Like, it was like, I've never been so scared of something in my life. And it may not have been nothing, but there was just something I believe I heard that just filled me with fear, and I had to leave that area. I don't know what it was. I was like, I gotta go, and I left. And unfortunately, I wanted to stay out there so much more, because the Salt Fork State Forest is like one of the best wooded areas in Ohio for Bigfoot encounters. So that was very strange. I can't say if it for sure was something Bigfooty or something else. I don't know, but whatever it was very weird. I definitely will say that. Anywho, we probably should start getting into the topic of today's episode. Sorry, kind of want to just keep everyone up to date on what's been going on, how the trip went, and everything like that. So today we're actually talking about a very interesting one, where I believe it's probably another, like, a really well-known one, especially all across North America, like with like Bigfoot and everything like that. I would honestly be surprised if you haven't heard before, unless the cryptozoology thing is like a new thing you're getting into. Then sure, you probably haven't heard of it. But we will be talking about today about Thunderbirds. Thunderbirds, like, what are you talking about? Like Zapdos, the legendary the legendary bird from Pokemon? Like, bzz, bzz. No, but I wouldn't be surprised if Zapdos was inspired from Thunderbirds, because it's the same general idea. But yeah, so Thunderbirds are a cryptozoology, is a giant bird in a sense, where it has been seen from anywhere from all the way to northern Canada, Alaska, even down to some parts of Central America. So this, obviously, as we know, it's a bird. Birds have pretty wide range, and this bird definitely has a very wide range. It is also very well known and embedded in Native American mythology and culture. there is so much about Thunderbirds and their culture, whether they have totems of it. Because I could be wrong on how totems work, but sometimes, like if you've ever looked at a totem for Native Americans, they like a lot, especially if they have like faces of animals or people or stuff like that. They go obviously like a lot of things. They start at the bottom and then go up. I could be wrong, but I believe that totems work in the way where make sure the mic. I can't really sure with the mic that things on the bottom. I'm just using this as an example, but maybe just so you can grasp the concept of that. The bottom of the bottom of the totem is like, let's say, like the lowest end of the food chain, and it keeps going up, 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 and until it gets something else at the top. Well, a lot of these times, Thunderbirds are always seen at the top. I'm actually looking at a picture of one right now of of a Thunderbird, being at the very tippy top of the totem. Actually, you know what? Let's just check real quick. Meanings of animals on totems. On totem pole. Yeah, there you go. Because I got to specify. Yeah, because obviously different meanings of animals on totem poles has a meaning behind it. So like there's like the bear, beaver, butterfly, crow, eagle, frog, killer whale, raven, turtle, and wolf. Yeah. Okay. So totem poles are often designed to maintain balance by pairing passive and aggressive animals together. For example, a wolf is aggressive while a beaver is passive, so the two could be a pair. There are some times where you like more or less like you got the beaver on the bottom and then the wolf on top of it, stuff like that. Going by the picture here, honor person event. Okay, there. But yeah, so and of course, just not just not just like totems themselves. They're on so many pieces of art and song and just oral history in general of this creature. Like, I'm pretty sure there's no Native American culture. Like, let's see what we got here. Yeah, so we got it frequently depicted in art songs, many in the Pacific Northwest cultures, but has various forms among other like American Southwest, so in the desert, the U.S. the U East U East U.S. U.S. East U.S. East Coast. That's a weird little jumble of words there. So around my area, and Great Lakes and the Great Plains. So almost every part of the United States has something of this, especially obviously especially like a lot of Native in a lot of Native American cultures. So it's pretty well known, for a very wide range, and obviously, known by many cultures in Native American cultures, and just in their histories. Some of them depict them as like being animals of guidance, guiding people to safety, and sometimes also, and also being wary of storms to come, because as the name says, Thunderbirds get their name from stories. The stories in mythology go that they bring upon storms with the mighty flaps of their wings. Their wings sound of thunder, crash, crash, as the Thunderbirds fly in the air, bringing storms along with them. Some people see that as a sign of they bring rain, because rain for anything living means life. So obviously with rain comes, food and water to drink, and just being able to the prosperity that comes along with it. If not always, cause the power to cause it, are often seen in and around the storms. So when a storm's coming, they will see the shadow or the creature of a big bird flying amongst the clouds, whether or not it's the one that caused it or not, or it seems to use it for some sort of other reason, hard to say. Because these stories of Thunderbirds, of like evidence of their art and everything like that, goes back about like 4,000 years from now. Some of the earliest ones of petroglyphs of thunderbirds found on the Twin Bluffs in Wisconsin are said to be 250 to 1500 BCE. So BCE, what's BCE? I obviously know BC. Hold on, we're gonna learn some more things. What does BCE mean? Before Common Era. Huh. That's a new one. Before BCE. Yeah, because normally I've always known it as before Christ, BC. BCE. Huh. That's all right. Well, would you look at that? Listen, look at that. We are learning things. That's what we do on the show. We learn things and have fun. That's what we do, right? So interesting. But yeah, so we do have some at least some more historical proof of that there's more to it than just, maybe simple stories. Of course, go sure. Could there, could some of these be, well, let's not get that far yet. Let's see. There are lots of different arts in Native American cultures showing like these very weird, very interesting murals or drawings of like a bird-like being holding. Let's see. Algonquian. Yeah. Okay. Sweet. I saw Algonquian. All right. So we got some little in the Algonquian have some interesting things about it. Not even gonna try. Not even gonna try to say that. I really don't want to butcher some of these. I only know Algonquian because I've heard the name. I've heard the word before. I'm not even gonna try to butcher anything like that. But it's very interesting that there are all these stories of these giant birds and stuff like that. Now, the interesting thing about thunderbirds is that let's talk about like the actual creature itself. That thunderbirds in their stories, they're in a lot of their stories. They're not just a small bird. They are a big bird, a very big bird, like birds that would make any like bird that we know today look like a parakeet. Looks like a nice little snack. Like, ooh, look at those buffalo wings I like to have. I could go for some buffalo wings right now. Mwah! Gotta love those buffalo wings, right? Yeah. Raise your hand if you like buffalo wings. I'm gonna assume a few of you raise your hands. Good job. But the size of thunderbirds have been said to be many different sizes. Some say as big as 70 feet in wingspan, and some as small as their wingspan being like 40. Still very big, and some even being smaller. But there's so many there's a lot of inconsistencies with some of the stories of what people say. But it's it's kind of hard to say what the true size of these creatures are, and why that's a thing. We'll get into that later. So the wingspan of and also supposedly around 7 to 10 feet tall when just standing on its front little claws. I guess not front, just its normal claws. So pretty big bird. It could pick up a human, no problem. If you swoop it up, no problem, and just be like, well, see ya. Be like, well, crap. I'm bird food. And definitely not something you want to deal with, because unfortunately, they're old. There are big birds have existed in history before. Now, nothing that is that big, but there are some stories. Okay, we're almost there. But so the fact that there are stories of such big birds is pretty incredible. The fact that they are such big animals, as they stories say, and everything else like that. Now, before we get any further, are these things, dangerous? Well, supposedly, yeah. I mean, they are a big species of bird. Like predatory birds are probably some of the most like terrifying creatures ever. Like it's kind of a good thing that we don't have some of these bigger predatory birds that have been, that we have in the fossil records of living in the past with probably ancient humans and Neanderthals and stuff like that. Like, thank God we don't need to worry about looking up. Like, that's good. One of the most well-known Thunderbird sightings, which was also a Thunderbird attack, happened in 1977 in Lawndale, Louisiana. Or, sorry, not Louisiana. Blech. Illinois. Goodness gracious. I'm going to read this. I'm going to read the quick little thing right here, right now, about it right now. Quote. The 1977 Lawndale, Illinois Thunderbird attack was a reported attack by two unidentified birds on a young boy. The attack occurred on July 27, 1997. 10-year-old Marion Lowe was playing outside when he was suddenly attacked by two large birds, one which temporarily picked him up and carried him over 30 feet before Marlon's mother, Ruth Lowe, ran to her son's rescue, chasing the birds away, then recovering her traumatized son. Reportedly, several eyewitnesses have seen the attack take place. The birds were described as having white ring around their necks, a 4.5-foot tall body, with each wing approximately 4 feet long and a 6-inch hooked bill. 3 front claws, 1 back claw, and a large black body. Hold on a second. Let's just see. Condors in Illinois. No, not condos. Condors. Wow, if I could just spell condors correctly. There we go. Let's see. What list of birds live in Illinois? There are a lot. Let's see if we can find any like condors or anything else like that. Not seeing any condors or anything like that. Not even vultures. But anywho, so probably one of the most well-known Thunderbird sightings ever. Now, the size of the birds that tried to take the boy away is pretty impressive. Not gonna lie. Now, the fact that it was able to carry it 30 feet off the ground is pretty impressive. Actually, you know what? Okay, hold on. We're going to do one more thing. California condor. How much can it lift? Let's see. California cannot carry anything with their feet. Interesting. Huh. Okay. Wow. Ooh, this got some interesting stuff we can talk about with this. Okay. So going back real quick. So when this attack happened, obviously it traumatized, it was a very traumatizing thing. But also, it was also interesting that there were multiple eyewitnesses that were there during, when it happened. It wasn't just the one or two people involved. I believe this was at a party or like an event with other people, and other people saw this happening. So the fact that this thing was able to lift this child, 30 feet off the ground. Okay. Okay, hold on. Average weight of a 10-year-old boy. So the average weight of a 10-year-old boy is around 70 pounds. That's pretty hefty. That's a pretty hefty thing. That's for sure. I mean, I definitely have an idea of what 70 pounds weighs by boxes that I have to lift at work and stuff like that. So 70 pounds is hefty, definitely for sure. Now, obviously, with wings, wings definitely help when picking things up. But the important, it gives you the force that you need to be able to, lift things. But the important thing about that is that, you also, the claws of the predator or predatory bird needs to be strong enough to lift it up. So it's very interesting because think of that for a second. So when they describe the creature, let's see, it was around 4 feet tall. So standing up, it would have looked 4 feet tall. Each wing process. Okay, so it is. They are saying that the approximate each wing was approximately 4 feet long. So they didn't have a 4 foot wingspan. So okay, so we got. Oh shoot, we got two. I'm gonna move the table a little bit because I keep hitting it. So we've got the two wings, left, right. That's 4 feet. So we got 8 feet right there. Now, obviously, of course, there might be they may not be adding in the length of the width of the body and stuff like that. So let's say that's about what would be that? Would that be a foot? Let's say a foot. Let's say at least a foot or so of width before. So you got wing one, you got left wing, foot, and then right wing. So maybe even less than half that. But so we've got at least a creature of a wingspan in total of around 8.5 to so we'll say a 9 foot wingspan. Pretty impressive. Not gonna lie, that's a pretty big bird. That's unfortunately not out of the range of what the wingspan of a California condor can be. Now, California condor height, and some of the biggest California condors can get up to 3.5 feet tall when standing up. That's pretty big. Not the 4 feet that the creature that they're supposedly saying it was, but pretty interesting nonetheless. Now, could this been a misidentification? Very possible. But the fact of this, the thing you can't what's the word I'm looking for? The fact you can't ignore that this bird was able to pick a 10-year-old boy, roughly weighing around 70 pounds, 30 feet off the ground before it dropped it. Now, did it get startled and that's why it dropped it, or was it not able to carry it any further and then it dropped it? The fact that it was still able to get 30 feet off the ground is pretty high. That's nothing to scoff at. That's for sure. Like, that boy probably definitely hurt himself in some way when the thing dropped him onto the ground. But definitely interesting. Now, if you also look at the description of it, that it had a hook, had a hooked bill, 3 front claws, 1 back claw, and a large black body. There's also and the white ring around its neck. Now, a lot of that definitely describes what a condor looks like. Maybe not necessarily a California condor, because California condors have. Oh wow, that thing is fighting off. Thing is fighting a coyote. Most of their white seems to be around their wings, but some of these do show that possibly could be around their neck and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely like the white ring or like the white little tuft or fluff around its wing, around its neck, is definitely very condor-like. The description of it and everything else like that. Especially going by, even its hooked bill isn't very hooked, but it is a little bit. But the thing that I saw that I was looking up earlier that made me go, huh, was that condors, species in general, do not have the capability of picking up things with their feet. Their feet are not designed for picking up things. If you've ever seen like a predatory bird, like most predatory birds, like a hawk or an eagle or any sort of raptor-like predatory bird, if you're curious, look it up on how the muscles in a predatory bird like an eagle works. It's kind of hard to explain, but pretty much imagine if you've got a little tube, a long little tube, and you got the muscle going into the bottom of it, and then the muscles kind of retract in, and then pulling in all the claws to come in and grasp something. It is very fascinating, and I'll try to see if I can get a picture of it and put it on the Facebook page. But if not, give it a gander for yourself. Try to find like a little animation of someone of showing it. It's very fascinating, very cool. And when I saw it, I was like, huh. I would have no. I'm just going by of what I know of my own body can do and how it does it. I couldn't even comprehend that's how they do. Other predatory birds like that do it. So condors don't have that ability to pick things up with their feet like that. Most of the time, when they carry small things away in their food, but if not, they mainly, condors are scavengers. They go in and they pretty much scavenge, the corpses of all their, of what they can get out of it. So they fly down there and they eat it, nom 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 nom, stuff like that. So the fact that this thing had the capability of picking it up with its claws meant it had to have been some sort of raptor, like raptor meaning like a type of predatory bird, like an eagle or a hawk or something like that. So if you ever hear me use that term, that's what I mean. So the fact that it was able to pick it up had to mean it was that kind of species of bird, because they are designed to pick things up with their feet. And if you haven't, also look up what a bald eagle looks like when it swoops a fish out of the water. When it's on the very top, when it's on the very near the surface of the water. It's amazing their pinpoint accuracy that they with predatory birds have when it comes to getting their prey and everything else like that. It's very fascinating. It's like it shows how boring in a way humans are and how we do things. The only real interesting thing about us, about humans, is our brains and how they function and when we're able to do what we do and stuff like that. But so shows that it had to have been some sort of bird. Now, obviously, there is no known animal today. Condor, maybe, but even then, there's no known bird that's big enough to be able to carry a roughly 70-pound child 30 feet off the ground before it had to drop it or it had scared away to drop it off. Like, it may not have been fully prepared, it may just saw a simple meal and try to take it away. So what could it have been then? So the cavalry condor, has a 10-foot wingspan and can stand up to 2.5-3 feet tall. So impressive. That is a big with a wingspan. That wingspan is bigger than me in my length. So that's impressive. I'm not gonna lie. But still not strong enough to lift a child, even if its feet were built to do so. So there were a species of predatory birds named teratorns. They were very big species of predatory birds. I always thought they were bigger. From the basic stuff that I've been able to find so far, they were like 2.5-3 feet. Some saying 4 feet tall, with a 11 to 12, and maybe even some saying even over a 13-foot wingspan. That's not like monstrously bigger than the California condor, but still pretty big. And that would roughly, here it is. That would roughly put it around the size. Wait, no, nope. Up here it is. That would, even bigger than the size of the creature that tried picking up, the child. Now, can we get to that? Not yet. Oh no, I lost my page. No. Hurry, I found it. So yeah, we won't get to that. There's something I want to talk about, but there's a few things we need to go over first before we do get there. So teratorns were a species of bird that lived millions of years ago, and even until modern day times with ancient Native Americans and other species like that. So they were a force to be reckoned with. And so a lot of people think that stories of Thunderbirds are actually modern day teratorns that survived to modern day and be able to do what they do nowadays, just because of how much bigger they are than most average normal birds that we have here, especially in North America. So is that possible? Maybe. There's a lot of untouched wilderness out there, especially in parts of North America where stuff could be hiding and stuff like that. And they're not like unnecessarily huge that it wouldn't be possible for them to be able to find food to be able to sustain themselves. Especially if they live in areas where there are elk and deer and other animals like that, where they can easily hunt for sustainable food. So it's definitely not impossible. Now, of course, then people be like, well, why don't we see them more and stuff like that? It's like, that's a question for so many things. Why don't we see these things more? That's a question everyone wants to know. But yeah, so the description of the creature goes between, I've seen it as a few different things. As an all black creature, especially with like a white, with that, or with a white tuft around its neck. But it always seemed to having the head of like a condor or a vulture or something like that. I've also heard of a few stories of it representing some sort of eagle-like bird, like a predatory, like a raptor kind of predatory-like bird that I was like just mentioning. so different descriptions there. Obviously, some of these things could be misidentifications of modern animals, or maybe there's more than one something going on around going on out there. Some possible theories as well, just because of the broad size of the creature, is that some people believe that some sightings of thunderbirds might actually be modern day versions of pterodactyl sightings or pterosaur sightings, which already is already a whole complicated thing as it is, because people don't even believe that people who say they saw pterodactyl stories are even the case. So I always find it kind of funny whenever I hear these stories of a cryptid, that people think, oh, I think there's chance it also it may be another cryptid. So a cryptid that people that may not believe exists, but they, oh, well, what if it's this cryptid though? So I've always found that pretty funny whenever that happens, especially something of like, it's like, oh, I saw a goat man or a dog man or something like that. It's like, oh, you may have also saw a Bigfoot or yada yada blah. So I'm like, that's funny when people in the, mostly people who are in like the whole cryptozoology field are you know are aware, or like, oh, it may not be this cryptid, but it might be this cryptid. It's just a very funny thing. I always find it just so funny whenever that does happen. So, which is interesting because some of these parts where people say that they have seen thunderbirds have said that they've also seen some sort of like pterosaur, pterodactyl like creature. Obviously, the descriptions of the creatures are very different, but if you're not fully prepared and aware of what you're looking at the time, you may not be able to get a full picture of what it is, especially if it's moving quickly. You know, get a lot of time to look at it. All you saw was just a big bird just fly by and stuff like that. So before we continue, fun fact: I believed I saw it for a while. I believed I saw a thunderbird when I was a kid. So in my backyard, I was sitting, or not backyard, but yes, but okay. I was a kid and I was on the phone with one of my uncles, and I was standing there in the kitchen, around like our dinner table, and I look back. I'm like, huh. It's like, hey, there's a there's a big bird out there. And my uncle's like, oh, it's just probably just one of your brothers in a bird costume, flapping his arms, going quack quack. I'm like, ha ha ha, that's funny. I was laughing my butt off, and my attention to it completely went away. Years later, I always thought, wait, did I see a thunderbird? Like, that's a very odd thing for me to say. I saw a thunderbird, like, or not thunderbird. I saw a big bird. Not just I saw a bird or something like that, but I saw a big bird. So what I decided to do was, this was some years ago. I thought, you know what? I'm going to kneel down to the height that I would have been around that time, looking out the window in roughly the same area where I was looking out before, and what would I have seen? Well, out in my backyard, I do have outside there. I do have a wooden deck, and I'm thinking, okay, that's what it was. There was probably some sort of falcon or eagle or something like that, just standing on the wooden railing right there of the deck, right in the perfect site for me to see a big bird. Because obviously, sure, most birds that I'm used to seeing up close are like small little birds, like pigeons, cardinals, robins, like normal birds like that. And of course, when I see something a little bit bigger than that, like a hawk, like, I'm not bird. I'm like, ooh, that's a bigger than normal bird, so that equals a big bird. And so putting myself at that height, I'm like, okay, that's probably what I saw. I saw a hawk that was just happened to be there at the right time, and me looking at it, thinking that it was actually on a branch, or was standing on the wall in my backyard, and that's what I thought I saw. And I was like, no, I think I probably just saw a bird that was just standing right there on the deck in my backyard. I'm like, okay, so there goes that mystery in my life. But that was a very interesting thing, and I'm like, huh. So that actually kind of goes into the point I've been trying to bring up. I think actually comes a good thing now is the possible mistakenness of some of these sightings of thunderbirds. I'll come back to that. But do I need to fix my shave? But so I believe I talked about this before with some of the past Bigfoot stuff, where people who are not trained in the eye in if like what's the word for it, just easily identifying things at the distance and size and stuff like that. If they're not trained for it or not used to it, they may not be very good at it and may think that something is actually say something bigger than it actually is. So I believe it was on Monster Quest. They did a thing where they got multiple cutouts of Bigfoot, some small, some big, some medium size, and they would place them at certain distances, some closer, some farther, in between there. And so they would place like a small one in the back, and then like different places like that, just to get an idea of it. And whenever a lot of people would ever say like, "Oh, that thing is that farther one way there, that one's about like 6 feet tall," when in reality the cutout of it was actually only like 2 or 3 feet tall. And so the distance of things can be tricky. Something that looks like it's big may actually be a lot closer to you, and may not be as big as you think, or vice versa. Now, especially things in the air, it is very hard to tell, like unless you're able to get like, if you're looking up at something, it can be kind of tricky sometimes to see how the gauge the size of something if you don't have anything to compare it to. And it's a lot, and like a lot of times, so at least with stuff on the ground, people have a greater chance of being able to pick out things. Oh, okay. I saw a creature and it was about the size of that car, or like something like that. It's like something to compare it to. When you're looking up, that's a lot harder to do. Sure, sometimes you may be able to do like a tree or something like that, the tops of a tree, but even then, you're still not. It's like that still may not be enough information to really gauge what you're truly seeing as. So it can be especially with things especially things in the air, it can be very tricky to gauge something. So I do believe that some sightings of thunderbirds are possibly misidentifications of modern day birds, that people have gotten the size of it wrong. Now, can we say that about this sighting about the bird that picked up that picked up the child? No, because if the child was a certain height, they would have been able to get a good height on the creature as well. Try picking it up. Within the past some years, there is actually a video of um a golden eagle, I believe. Hold on. Uh, Golden eagle tries to pick up little girl. Yeah, massive golden eagle tries to fly off with a 8-year-old girl. The video is really like you see this bird just come in, just knock this little girl over. Now, this eagle is nowhere. It didn't get very far. It literally just knocked the child over, and like it was big, but definitely not big enough to lift the child as far as that. Like, and of course, the child was fine, and yeah, I think this child was probably around like 6, 7, maybe a little younger, but definitely nothing that a golden eagle could have picked up. It would need to be something a lot bigger. And I quickly just saw that, yeah, golden eagles couldn't even pick up a baby. So I don't think it's gonna pick up a young child. So Sure, it tried. The bird probably saw an easy prey and, went for it. And obviously it didn't work out. And it's like, well, okay, nope, can't pick you up. See ya. I'm out of here. And, just flew off. Of course, the child was probably a little scraped up, but it was overall was fine. But just shows that, so even some today, modern predatory birds are able to do that. Now, if we rewind back to the attack, if that is like that is still a very massive that is a massive bird to be able to pick up the child at least 30 feet off the ground. The fact that it was able to do that is very impressive, means that it definitely was a bird of monstrous size to be able to pick up the child. Now, again, it only carried it 30 feet off the ground. Did it drop because it couldn't carry it anymore, or was it startled by the mom trying to get the child back down to the ground? Hard to say. It may not have been able to carry it off, but wanted to at least try, because look at that small little child. Let's go get it. Whee, kind of thing. So very interesting. But one of the things that there's a show, there's like this shows I listen to on YouTube on my podcast app called Darkness Prevails. He's got a lot of good stuff of people who've supposedly submitted real stories that have happened to them with creepy people, and creatures and stuff like that. And especially whenever I hear stories of things that are like, okay, that's not true, and they're like, yeah, there's a gargoyle outside my room that ate a pigeon. I saw it. The Ozark Howl and a bunch of other things. I'm like, wait, what? Kind of thing. Like, makes me scratch my head a bit more. But there was a story that someone told on there of a Thunderbird encounter. Him and his friend were camping up in a mountainous area, and one night a storm came. And during that time, they heard a loud, screeching noise in the air. And obviously not being able to fully see what was happening, they might have saw the creature, but next thing they know, their tent that has two grown men in it is being lifted off the ground into the air. Now, I believe it was super high, but the fact that it was doing it was astounding as well. Again, two adults, two grown men in a tent were being lifted up into the air. So after being carried around the air a little bit, because there's also a storm going on. So when the storm was happening, animals, it was coming in and, trying to, take it away. Apparently, they then heard another screeching and wing flapping noise of a possible second one that was trying to also fight over the tent with the two people inside. So these two giant birds were having a tough time and trying to pick up this pick up the tent with the people in it and take it away. Well, ultimately, during the whole commotion, the tent is dropped to where then it goes through some trees and they land on the ground. They do suffer some injuries, but nothing life-threatening or nothing life-threatening. So I was like, okay, what was that? I believe they do remember. I do remember they did give a description of it looking a bit more like an eagle-like shape. But the fact that it was big enough to pick up the tent with two grown men in it for an amount of time, like this event was not quick. This happened for a bit, but the fact that it was able to do it must have meant that the bird that picked it up had a massive wingspan and massive gripping strength of its claws to be able to pick up. Sure, probably being able to grip it from the edges of the tent and everything like that probably made it easier for to get a good grasp. The fact that it was still able to pick up a tent with two grown men in it means the bird had to have been of a monstrous size. Now, I don't remember they gave an actual description of the creature, but it's definitely still interesting that they had this whole encounter happening. Now, I could be wrong because I don't know how many animals actually do this, but the one possible theory of why people say they see a thunderbird around storms is that a lot of times during storms, the animals get, like their homes might get damaged or ruined from the storm or get confused and, or may not be always in the best shape, during or after a storm. So sometimes predatory birds might take this advantage to find prey that is kind of confused or, sling along the line during the storms and take out this opportunity for hunting. Thunderbirds, probably that same general way, but are somehow obviously not threatened at all from being shocked or anything like that from the storms, but are able to fly around, no problem. So a very interesting story. Cause like I really there stories of like cryptids like this are like few and far to like none between. And yet when I heard this story and I'm listening to it, I'm like, wow, that's incredible. Like where the fact that we're hearing this amazing story of a Thunderbird picking up a tent with two grown men in it, and then a second one trying to also get them in it is amazing as it is. Like that bird that picked that up was definitely no known bird that we know of. No bird could even get close to even picking up a small child that's 10 years old or even younger, let alone a tent with two grown men in it that are probably in the excess of 300 pounds or more. Like like that's not even like that's ridiculous. That's crazy. Obviously, like the wings must have been huge and must have such great force to be able to lift it up. But definitely an interesting story, that's for sure. And hopefully, we get more stories of Thunderbirds, and hopefully, of if people are attacked, people are able to tell the story about it. Nothing bad or anything like that. So, what do I believe that Thunderbird is? I don't know. Obviously the Thunderbird is definitely real. Like a lot of stories, every myth, every legend has some grain of truth in it. That they got something out of it that brought the story to life and to keep it alive to this day. So it has to be some sort of species of predatory. There could be multiple of these different. There could be other kind of birds that are being misidentified as Thunderbirds, and are maybe it's like maybe there's two identified giant flying birds, and people think, oh, Thunderbird, Thunderbird, Thunderbird. But maybe there's multiple, but it has to be some sort of raptor predatory bird that is strong enough to be able to pick up people, and now whether or not it has the power to cause these storms, probably not, but I can't say for sure. Probably just takes advantage of the commotions that storms cause during it, and especially afterwards, and tries to get some easy meal and stuff like that. But hard to say. It's you can't go back to this story. Had this encounter during a thunderstorm. Kind of goes along with the story of Thunderbirds, but we'll see. And that's it. I think that will do it for today. That is our thing of Thunderbirds. I believe that there is something more behind Thunderbirds than just simple mythology and stories behind it. But what exactly? Who knows? Some sort of predatory bird, that's for sure. But what exactly it is, I cannot say. And who's to say that there isn't a species of condor that hasn't evolved to be able to grasp things with its talons? Maybe, we don't know. But I hope you enjoyed that one. It definitely. When I was trying to think, like, oh, what would be a good one? It's like I got some ideas for here, thinking of ideas for some possible ones, stuff like that. I'm like, oh, we haven't done Thunderbirds yet, and that's an interesting one. A lot of people know about that, so let's do that. And here we are today. So we've done Thunderbirds. I hope everyone enjoyed this one. Hope you learned some new other facts besides the BCE that I learned today. And yeah, if this is your first time here, again, welcome. Make sure you follow the Facebook page, facebook.com/Cryptid Talk. Of course, normal YouTube stuff, like, share, comment, subscribe, all that. Like I said before, it helps me out greatly, and if you do it, I greatly appreciate it. And keep it up. Let's see how we won't be able to make it to 100 subscribers, but let's see how far we can get. And of course, if you or someone has seen, anything, heard something, pictures, videos, anything of something weird or strange creature that you've seen or heard, or someone who has, email me, cryptidtalk91@aol.com. It would be, I'm trying to, hopefully maybe get like reading people's stories and stuff like that. But of course, For that to happen, you need people who have seen things, and not everyone has seen something. But I will not discriminate. I will not make fun of, judge you, or anything else like that. It could be a long story. It could be a short story. I don't care being like, yeah, I saw this creature. It was it ran across from the front of my car, and it scared the crap out of me. Sure, I might ask you some more information of like, like, oh, like how big was it? Like, yeah, other simple stuff like that. But if you do have a story and you do tell me as much detail as you possibly remember. The time of day, the size, what were you doing before, during, and after this encounter? Like, what did it look like? Anything you remember? Like, send me as much information, important information that you can send me. Like, I don't need to know, like, you were listening to ABBA on the radio or something like that. Like, send me what you got. And yeah, that's it. I think that's pretty good. I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving and everything like that. And I hope everyone has a good, safe weekend too. And remember, keep your ears and eyes open for the creepiness in store, because you never know what you'll find outside of your door. This has been Cryptid Talk with Michael Madden. Have a good day, everyone. Stay safe. Love you all.